Good morning. That's cool that you can say hello before we start. You can't do that on Facebook. I'm assuming that's Allison and not Harry. Um, Either way, good morning, whoever it is. We will give people a little bit extra time since we're in a new place this week to jump on over and see if people get in. So I probably should have opened it up early so people could have done that. But doesn't look like anyone said anything on Facebook. Got two people. It is Tuesday morning. Anyhow, okay. Okay, I know I had announcements or things I needed to remind people of. And what are they? Easter blood drive. Furniture. Okay. Well, we'll just get going, and people can trickle in as they please, and they can watch later if they want. So, I've got my coffee. Allison, I'm assuming you have your water. If Jill's here, I'm assuming she has her coffee. Karen probably has her coffee if she's here. I don't know who else is here. So things for this that are coming up. Easter is on Sunday, Resurrection Sunday. We hope that you'll plan to be here in person and that you'll invite people to come join you since you can sit with another household. Be a great opportunity to invite a neighbor, family member, someone you desire to come to know the Lord and hear the good news of what he has done for us. And so be thinking about that, praying about that, who you can invite for Easter sunrise or Easter Sunday. We're not doing a sunrise service. Easter Sunday service. And then who's calling me? Spam, probably. Don't you love spam phone calls? They're terrible, and they happen all the time. And then we are going to have refreshments between services. Normally we do a resurrection breakfast, Sunday breakfast, or kind of do potluck and stuff. But we can't do that this year. We couldn't do it last year either. So we're going to just have some light refreshments between services. So stay late, come early, fellowship with your brothers and sisters in the Lord as we rejoice over his resurrection. And I hope you'll be here for that. And then a couple other things. We need help next Monday night. So a week from yesterday, moving stuff downstairs to consolidate into one room so the carpet can be torn out, ripped out, and replaced. And then after all that's done, we will need help moving it all back later in the week to its appropriate places and emptying the room that had all of it so that could be demoed and replaced. So I hope you'll plan to help us with that. Many hands make light work, so hopefully we can get a lot of people and we can get it done real quick. And then lastly, we have the blood drive happening on April 15th. If you haven't signed up yet, we'd love for you to sign up. It's just a simple way to help the community, as blood is kind of always needed, and in the pandemic world, it's needed more so. So we hope that you will sign up and participate in that as we seek to just help the community in that little way. So I think that's all I've got announcements wise. If anything else comes up, we'll tell you. Find a way to tell you. All right. So we're going to take a break this week from going over our Taking Every Thought Captive study, and we will we're going to look at Luke 26 to 39, and this came up in my reading today, and what I observed, what I noticed, I've probably been told before, you've probably heard it, but it just struck me, and I thought it made perfect sense to talk about the week of Easter. So let me share my Bible screen with you. And there we go. Share. Everyone's seeing my Bible, hopefully. So this is in the middle of Jesus's ministry, and they have they just went on the boat in the storm, and Jesus has been teaching, and we get to the scene where they get to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. And then this is what happens. It says, then they sailed to the country of Gerasenes. I always forget how to pronounce that. Rather than pull it up and play it, we'll just pretend I said it correctly. Which is opposite Galilee. When Jesus had stepped out on land, there met him a man from the city who had demons. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he had not lived in a house, but among the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell down before him and said with a loud voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many a time it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds and be driven by the demon into the desert. Jesus then asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Legion," for the many demons had entered him, and they begged him not to command them to depart into the abyss. Now a large herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him to let them enter these. So he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and drowned. When the herdsmen saw what had happened, they fled and told it to the city, and in the country. Then people went out to see what had happened, and they came to Jesus and found the man from whom the demons had gone, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. And those who had seen it told them how the demon-possessed man had been healed. Then all the people of the surrounding country of the Gerasenes asked him to depart from them, for they were seized with great fear. So he got into the boat and returned. The man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with him. But Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." And he went away, proclaiming throughout the whole city how much Jesus had done for him. So we have Jesus and the disciples show up on the other side of the lake. They encounter a man who is demon-possessed. In Matthew's account, there's two men. Luke and Mark only talk about the singular man. So with the reason being Mark and Luke focus on the man who interacts with Jesus particularly, and Matthew has a different purpose in recording his version of the story. It's the same story, and both are true. One just has a focus on, or Mark and Luke have the focus on the one man, and Matthew has the focus on what happens to the two men. And Jesus heals him by casting the demons into the pigs. There are many. Legion literally would be 6,000 soldiers for a Roman legion. And so this is not just one demon. This is not just a couple. This is in the thousands. And he casts them into the pigs, and the pigs run into the water, and they drowned, and the man is healed. And he goes from being out of his mind with incredible strength to he's clothed and he's in his right mind. And this event really strikes the people of the area, and they are fearful of Jesus because of it. And so what we sorry, my mouse isn't working. What we want to observe in this is something that struck me this morning, and it's this, that at the end, and why would I talk about this during Easter week? Maybe you already see where it's going, but why would we focus on this text the week of Easter? It's this last verse in verse 39. Jesus tells him, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." And he went away proclaiming throughout the whole city how much Jesus had done for him. What struck me about this is the idea that we so often when we think of evangelism, we think of it as going step by steps through a gospel presentation. Now that is a means of sharing the gospel. That is a means of evangelism. But what does Jesus tell the man to do here? He tells the man to go home and declare how much God has done for you. And he went away proclaiming throughout the whole city how much Jesus had done for him. So when we think of evangelism, it's really just telling others about the things God has done for us, the good things God has done for us. For some people, that's an initial gospel proclamation, telling them the good news of the gospel that Jesus came and died for sinners and rose from the grave, and if we place our faith in him, we will have eternal life. Simple gospel presentation. That's sometimes what evangelism is. Other times it's just telling good news, the good news of what God has done. Sometimes we can tell good news that is not an explicit gospel presentation, but we can tell people, this is what God has been doing in my life. Someone says, hey, how have you been doing? What's been going on in your life? You run into someone you may not see regularly and they ask you how you've been, and you say, oh, God has done this amazing thing for me recently. I was praying about this and I was asking God for this, and I asked him to do XYZ and he answered my prayer. Or, I was going through a tough time and I asked God to take away this issue and he didn't, but you know what? He strengthened me and gave me resolve to remain steadfast in the midst of it. So as we think about evangelism and we think about sharing with others what God is doing, I want us to broaden our minds and consider that there are other things beyond a explicit gospel presentation that we can share with others, that the way God is at work in our life. We can share with others how much God has done for us. And I think part of that, and this might be how it connects a little bit to what we've been thinking about over the last month and a half of taking thoughts captive, is thinking about and considering the things that God has been doing in our lives. If you were to sit down with someone, they said, hey, what has God been doing in your life? Are you able to answer that quickly, or are you going to have to think about it and ponder it and reflect upon it? Or is it something that you're like, oh yeah, God did this recently. God has been at work in this way. And so as we come to Easter, Easter is obviously going to be about telling others about how much God has done for us in the gospel, the explicit gospel presentation. But on a regular basis, what has God been doing for you in general? That's always part of the answer, is what has he done for you from an eternal standpoint, but what else has he been doing for you? Can you think of anything right now that you're like, yeah, this is what God did for me recently? It's kind of that factors in kind of some of the testimony things where we hear someone say, yeah, I was going through this tough time and God answered this question. God helped me in this way. So I want you to consider who you can share with what God has been doing in your life recently. In Peter, in one of Peter's epistles, he says, be prepared to give an answer for the hope which you have. I think part of the reason people will even ask us is they'll hear us tell them things like, oh, God has been at work in this way. And so when they hear that, they'll be like, why does this person say this? And then they'll ask us and we'll be provided the opportunity to share with them. So as we come to Easter, Resurrection Sunday, I want you to consider who you might invite, who you want to hear explicit good news, and who you might share good news in general with, and someone that you hope would be healed like this demon possessed man. He found healing with his interaction with Jesus, and we have people we all know that we want to experience healing by their interaction with Jesus. So just a random thing that showed up in my own devotional reading this morning, and so I wanted to share it with you guys. I'm sure I've heard it before. I'm sure you've heard it before, but it stuck out to me today. So consider what you might share with others if you were presented the opportunity. Simple. I mean, people ask you how you are all the time, and you can give them a simple answer, a simple response. You can say, "Oh yeah, this is God has done this in my life recently," and people aren't really going to object. They're not going to argue with you about that. It's not going to be confrontational. It's just conversational. Like if your best friend does something really nice for you, you tell other people about it. If your neighbor does something really nice for you, you tell others about it. When Jesus does something really nice for you, tell others about it. Simple. All right, friends, I hope that's an encouragement to you. And I would love for you to be considering and praying about who you might share some good news with this week. All right, I will see you Sunday. If you need anything between now and then, let us know. If you have any questions about any of the stuff we talked about, drop us a line at the office or email or Facebook or anything else. I hope YouTube worked well. I don't really know if it's any different. So yeah, let me know if you think this was a terrible idea moving to YouTube. And if not, we'll probably just keep going with this, make my life slightly easier every week. All right. Have a good week, friends. See you soon.